Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Midweek Report. I'm Nick. Over on the other side is, of course, Justin, doing a interesting rendition of what was it again? What was it
Dark
called?
Souls plus
Dark Souls 3.
MMO plus army resource management game. Game.
Or another word, the nice word is mess. It's a
It
mess.
is a mess. That's actually how everyone describes the world. So yes, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. Okay then, fine. Don't mind me as I'm looking at a Batman Shogun figure.
My boy.
Even when I'm working, I'm not working. $2,000. Okay.
My boy.
Maybe pile. That is going on the maybe pile, but I kid. This is not a Batman related piece, so that would be interesting. As you could probably guess by the title card, it was actually having to do with Diablo Immortal, that hot mess of a game that created from the minds of Blizzard and the pocketbook of Activision. And oh boy, what a bloody shitstorm. So where to begin? We could start with how it's made an exuberant amount of money in only what, 5 weeks? Let's see. This article from Tassie came out on June 4th, which was when it released, maybe a day or so after its release. So let's say 4 to 5 weeks, and it's already made several $1 million in profit. We could talk about its incredible pay-to-win features, or we could talk about the fact that it's been banned in China. You know what? I think I have a better idea. We'll talk about all three. How does that sound, Justin? I think it's a good idea.
I think we need to tell it all.
I think we
Tell
need
it for
to
it
tell
all.
it all too.
Tell the
We're
whole
gonna
story.
tell it all then. We're gonna do a nice tell-all piece right here. So let's start at the beginning. Pay to win. The battle cry of the games industry. It is pay to win. Suddenly, every gamer and their mother comes up in arms.
Yes.
Oh, who will think of the children? But anyways.
Oh no, my money.
My money. My precious dollars. But anyways, so what about Diablo Immortal is pay to win? Well, if you don't know Diablo Immortal, actually, let's start before the pay to win feature. What the heck is Diablo Immortal? That's probably a good basis to start with for those who don't know. And considering all the bad press it's getting, you either don't know or are intentionally trying not to know, or you do know and you don't want to know. So let's go to those first two categories of you don't know or you don't want to know. So, Diablo Immortal basically is the Diablo, I don't want to even say like game. It's basically their attempt at making Diablo mobile.
Yeah.
That's actually the best way of summarizing it. It's basically Diablo, the mobile edition. And for those who remember a few years back when this got revealed at BlizzCon, which is the big Blizzard convention that Activision Blizzard holds, everyone was hoping for Diablo 4 getting announced, which it has eventually been announced and is now the talk of the news, but back then it was still the expected thing, and instead of getting the announcement for Diablo 4, we get this shit. For those who don't know, this is where the y'all guys don't have phones. Yeah, that's where that meme came from. For those who don't know, look it up. It's probably one of the most booed. Like they were when they revealed it, they were booed on stage. Quite
Ineptly.
inept. Yeah.
One way
And
to say it.
quite understandably, I would also say,
Yes.
because the pure tone deafness of the entire thing, like. It's not good when your entire fan base boos you and you're like, oh, wait, it's a good thing. Don't you guys have phones? That's a level of tone deafness that truly does speak for itself. But, anyways. Regardless, so Diablo Immortal, like I said, is Diablo Mobile Edition. And it was their attempt at breaking into the mobile market with Diablo. It's a big franchise after all. They've done things like that with Hearthstone for World of Warcraft, though that was more of a trading card game and not a straight up World of Warcraft port. Well, I wouldn't even call it port, just attempt at a port. In a way, Diablo is literally them taking an entire Diablo game and putting it on the phone, thus the name. So, how successful was it? Well, as I mentioned prior, it is now a pay-to-win mess in its later stages, so not well at all. Though I'm sure Activision's executives in the sales branch would tell you otherwise, but we'll get to that. So anyways, Diablo Immortal is absolutely pay-to-win, screams Paul Tassi on his new article about it. So what about it is pay-to-win? Well, in his own words, it's a brilliantly crafted game for mobile. It feels like a true Diablo game, despite its mobile-based controls and a slimmed-down skill gear system. His words, not mine. And from what I'm hearing, this is generally the consensus. The game itself is actually not a bad mobile game. It's a very good Diablo experience. Unfortunately,
There's a few problems.
he talked about there are a few problems. So there's apparently an XP wall he talks about in a previous article. He mentions that you hit about the mid 30s level-wise, which carries through until the end game at the level cap of 60. So around level 30 is when you're going to start hitting this XP wall, but that's all over the business. And the game turns into a much slower grind. And that's just the middle section, he says. Of course, there's also Battle Pass for big XP gains, but again, whole other story. That's just the one aspect. Where's the pay to win coming? We'll get to that. So apparently, according to him, once you beat the story content, there's this other section of the game. And it's how you get stronger gear, and that's called, you craft it, and you do stuff like that. So how do you craft it? Well, in his words, it's complicated and expensive. His words state that the main culprit are legendary gems, which are basically these things you socket into armor, and they grant you bonuses in terms of effects and abilities and other things. Now, to get these things, you need to have crests. And crests, as he mentions, also comes in two main variants. Rare, when you get, which you get one of these every day, and legendary, which, as he mentions, you must hit a monthly purchase cap of 1 after completing challenges, and there are 1 to 2 more in the battle pass at higher ranks. So in other words, you can only purchase one of these per month.
Yeah, come on. You're only allowed to go and get the thing that you actually need once a month, and can get it no other way.
So gems themselves are not an unfamiliar topic. I played Diablo 3 myself, and I can tell that gems are a thing, but not in this way. It's basically all this thing is baked into the insane monetization of Diablo Immortal. So the legendary crest system is basically, in his words, a loot box. Only you must play through the dungeon first to open that loot box. So you gotta get the loot box, then you gotta do something to open that loot box. See the problems here? Now, rare crests, are only awarded after the end of runs, and they're capped at 2 stars out of 5 stars. Now, obviously, if you're grinding for high gear, you want 5 stars. So, in other words, if you're going for the high-end gear to do the end-game content, you're kind of getting where I'm going at here. You want that 3 and up. But unfortunately, rare crests, as he mentions, are only 2 stars out of 5 cap. So in other words, you must engage with these monetization practices to get the legendary gems to socket in the gear to make more progress in the game.
Yes.
On a side note, he also mentions that these gems have gems of their own, which have, in a way, gems of their own, and it just keeps nesting on and on and on. If this sounds ludicrous, congratulations, you're one of the sane ones. He also has the breakdown of the legendary crests here. In percentages wise. So in his words, it's absolutely gotcha mechanics here.
Yep.
Just replace alternative anime ladies in Genshin Impact with legendary gems. I feel called out by that one, but shut up.
Just a bit.
But in fairness, the drop rates are much better in Genshin Impact. But I'm not going to defend gotcha games here. That's just my personal take.
Yeah.
Anyways, the breakdown of these drop chances are this. For a 1-star gem, you got a 75% chance. 2-star, 20. 2 to 5 star, 3.75. 3 to 5, 2 out of 5 stars, 3 to 7.5. 3 out of 5 stars, 1%. 4 out of 5 stars, 0.20. And a 5 out of 5 star, the top tier, you only looking at a 0.05% chance. Yeah. And as he mentions, there's also a pity system. Most gacha games have them. Basically what a pity system is, for those who don't know. So you're basically rolling, right? Let's go back to Genshin Impact, right? So you're grinding for a character, right? But all you're getting is weapons. after a while, and you're only getting low tier stuff, after a while, the game will basically award you a high tier weapon just for rolling. It's kind of like a slot machine, right? Roll it enough times, and eventually it'll just give you a jackpot just to keep you going. Now, depending on the gacha game you're looking at will depend on how generous this pity system is. Some pity systems go into effect pretty quickly. Let's say after every 10 rolls you don't get something, or every 5 rolls. Some games are a lot worse and go into the 50 to 100 roll, and that's when they give you something good. So depending on how generous your pity system is will depend on how, I guess, kind it can be. In the case of Diablo Immortal, this pity system is every 15 legendary crests, you will get 1 guaranteed 5-star. So, like I said, going back to Genshin Impact, which is every 10 rolls they give you, this is every 50 rolls. So, yeah.
Whoa, what does this remind me of? Another thing.
Oh boy. You say for Fallout 40.
No, not for Fallout. No. Vex Mythiclass.
Oh god, please don't. That's
Anyway.
like the D1 problem. Like 1,000 runs of the raid, you still don't frickin' get it.
Yep.
That's a whole other story, though. So, the shame... He mentions that it's a shame that the bundle that gets you 45 crests, 5 short of the pity line, is $100 in a bundle. So, to get the pity system to activate, you must throw down at least $100. See the problem here?
Yep.
And then, as I mentioned before, he goes into the awakening of these crests, which require crests in crests, and you see the problem here.
Come on. Come on. It's alright.
In the end, he says that the final build in Diablo Immortal at 40 grand to 100 grand of gem hunting, currently from max 5-star awakening everything. So in other words, to max 5-star awaken everything in a build in the final stages would cost you somewhere between 40 to 100 grand, depending on how lucky you are. Yeah. Now this will bring us into that next bit. Now, he mentions the storyline and stuff is free and all that stuff, but my gosh, the grind. So now you get a general glimpse of the pay-to-win features and the problems here. And it all has to do with this ludicrous gem system. Like I said, the consensus is the storyline's pretty fun to play, but yeah. The end game is, where they get you. That moves into the next topic, which I think is the kind of nice transition piece, which is the money. How much money has this incredible nut system earned? Well, according to a recent article from June 20th, so about 9 days prior, this current mobile game has already raked in, and again, the article about Diablo Immortal back when it came out from Tassie was June 4th, and this is June 20th, so do the numbers here. We're not that far from release date. And the thing's already raked in 24 million for Blizzard. Let me say that again, 24 million this nuts gem system has already raked in. When you look at the extreme endgame grind and the amount of money you're taking, again, to max out a build, fully awakened gems, which again require gems within gems, you're looking at 40 to 100 million, or 40 to 100 million, 40 to 100,000 to max out a build for endgame.
Yep.
You can kind of see where that 24 million is coming from. And this is an article by Game Rant, where they mentioned that this game was released back on June 2nd, which is my birthday. God, why did this have to come out on my birthday?
You know why.
Enough self-pitying aside. As I see... Anyways, moving on. I was going to comment on these side articles. We talk about Genshin Impact. Now there's like Genshin Impact articles on the side here between Overwatch and Stalker 2. But anyways, back to the actual article. While Blizzard's latest contribution to the gaming world, I love how they say it, hit over 8.5 million downloads, so the amount of, obviously, downloads this game has been getting, in its first 2 weeks, good god, and has seen over 10 million playing Diablo Immortal to date, so as of the time of this writing, it didn't come without its fair share of criticism, mentions. However, it goes on to say that despite the said criticism, this game has already managed to generate 24 million in revenue since launch. I love what it's called, the instant success of Diablo Immortal, making it one of the highest earning mobile games in Blizzard's history. Only second to the beloved card game Hearthstone. Excuse me. It goes on to say that some popular content creators have even gone the distance, spending upwards of 25,000 on Diablo Immortal. Even if it was to prove a point of how predatory the microtransaction systems can be. Which almost feels like you're... What's the proper term I could use here? You're almost playing with the devil just to prove that he cheats.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's kind of the best.
I mean, that...
Like the best line I can think
there's
of.
two things that can be noted immediately from the fact of how much money has been made thus far, despite the game not even coming out yet, is the fact that one...
Oh, it's out already.
Oh, okay. Well, it's out now, but at the time it made that much money.
Yeah, it came out on June 20th. It came out on June 2nd, and this was written on June 20th. So
okay.
Maybe about... Let's just do the math here. 1, 2, 3... About 4, maybe 3.5 weeks since release.
Okay. Still, either way, the amount of money it has at this current moment about is a little crazy to think about because, like, from a business standpoint, yeah, sure, you're making so much money. You've clearly done well. But from literally every other standpoint, it's, yeah, you've made so much money because of the fact that in order to do anything, you have to keep paying money.
Yeah.
So you've got clearly something going on where some people aren't putting two together when it comes to that. Is you're literally paying so much more money just to play the actual game in the first place. So is it worth it?
That's the thing. I mean, earlier in this article, right, it mentions, and I quote, "Like most mobile games on the market today, Diablo Immortal offers players two methods of enjoying the product. Pay to win or free to play. I love how those two are in two very different categories."
Yes.
But still. The former involves players spending as much money as they deem necessary to remain competitive, while the latter has gamers enjoying the product without spending a dime or remaining behind players who choose to spend. And that's when it goes into some content creators and the exorbitant amount of money some of them have spent. Just to, in a way, sometimes prove a point.
Yeah.
It even goes into one of them, Quinn69, went as far as to delete his character after spending an insane amount of money to earn his first 5-star gem, which is used to upgrade weapons and boost the statistical values of specific categories, which we mentioned in the previous article by Paul Tassi over at Forbes. During one of his streams, Quinn69 spent over 20,000, 20K in New Zealand dollars. Now, I'm not sure what the New Zealand exchange rate is compared to the rest of the world, but that's a lot of scratch, regardless of how you look at it.
It's close to Australia, which is pretty, I'd say, maybe $50 more than the Canadian dollar. Maybe. I'm not, don't quote me on it because I'm not too sure exactly, but I know when it comes to the Commonwealths, for the British Commonwealths, they're pretty close. Yeah.
And he says that he did this, and it says he did this just to show how absurd the rates were to get anything good, but still.
Yeah. I mean, that alone.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's the equivalent of playing with the devil to prove that he cheats, so. Which, considering this is Diablo Immortal, is actually quite a nice acronym.
Yep. So let's...
acronym, turn of phrase.
So do we want to move over to the whole China market not allowed?
Yes, good, wonderful thing you should remind me. Now, there's that third topic on the idea of money. On a side note, before we get into it, you're probably thinking, well, what's something about China? Well, again, a little backstory for those who don't know. To make it quick, the Chinese market is one of, if not the biggest mobile gaming market alive. Now, there's a whole history behind it, but short term of phrase is basically this. For many, many years, consoles such as the Xbox and the PlayStation were banned from China. Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, gone. So, China, in an effort to keep up with the video games industry, had to kind of invent their own fun, so to speak. And a lot of that came into using things like games based on the Linux operating systems and stuff like that. Kinda wannabe consoles, if you would. This has also allowed a lot of their games to work on phones, and since China is a country with a lot of busy people, a lot of people prefer to be on their phones playing games because, you're constantly busy, you don't have time to sit down in some cases and just play a console, because that requires, you not moving for a while, which some people cannot do because, they're busy.
Yes.
So in other words, long story short, this led to the Chinese market becoming a massive market in terms of video games for the mobile market. Tencent, a massive video game company based in China, is one of the most powerful mobile game companies in the world, and probably one of the most powerful video game companies in the world in general because of that fact. So now you know why everyone wants to break into the Chinese market a little bit. Let's talk about that point Daryl Justin mentioned, about how Diablo Immortal basically screwed the pooch when it comes to doing just that. Because let's be honest, these predatory microtransactions were probably geared for getting money out of that market. So, full disclosure, I haven't even fully read this article yet.
No.
So let's discover it together. A controversial social post, as it says, this is from Dot Esports, from a Ryan Galloway. I used to know a Galloway. A controversial social post has got Diablo Immortal banned in China, reads headlines, and this was from June 26th, so literally only a few days back. Oof, I can practically smell... I can practically hear the crying of the Activision executives. Ugh, What will they do now?
It's over.
All that money they don't have. Anyways, it begins. Diablo Immortal has made plenty of headlines since its launch for all the wrong reasons. In no relation to these criticisms, the game appears to be facing difficulties securing its launch in China, which again is where most mobile games want to try and make their money, for previously mentioned reasons. According to a post on Reddit, the game's launch has been delayed in China following a post from the Diablo Immortal Weibo account. I believe Weibo is a massive social platform in China.
Yes. Weibo is one of the major ones.
Also, ironically, owned by Tencent.
Yes.
Remember what I said? Powerful company.
Yes.
Which allegedly compared Chinese leader Xi Jinping to a children's cartoon character, Winnie the Pooh. Oh boy.
Yes.
He really doesn't like that. Personally,
No.
I'll be honest, I don't see much of the resemblance, but apparently he does.
There's a small resemblance, but I mean, it's not really that big. Like it's really not. But because he seems to keep reminding everyone about it, everyone just keeps reminding him about it.
What's that one character, right? It almost reminds me of that one character, right? Actually, I shouldn't say this on stream, in case he ever hears this and hates me later. Later. I'll mention it after the stream. But anyways, the post states that someone, the article continues, the post states that someone using the Diablo account questions, when would the bear fall off the seat, according to the poster is directed to Chairman Xi. I'm not familiar with Chinese politics to some degree, so I'm not sure what exactly... Anyways, the June 26th post continues to suggest that marketing for the handheld game has now been completely shut down in China, which further action rumored to be taken against NetEase, which is another big game company in China.
Yep.
Bloomberg reached out to NetEase regarding this post for a report. However, the company declined to comment at the time of publication. Right now, there has been no official statement on Diablo Immortal's alleged ban in China. Days prior to Diablo Immortal's scheduled arrival in China, the game's official Weibo account was blocked from posting for violating relevant laws and regulation. Basically, he made G cry. Furthermore, NetEase released a statement at a time confirming that the release had been delayed, stating that this time will be used to work on optimizing the game to function better on more devices. Translated, buy time until they can make the politicians happy again. The game was initially set for a Chinese release on June 23rd, but obviously has not happened.
Yeah.
Esports, so the publication we're reading, has been unable to confirm the authenticity of the alleged post, and as if it is not currently on the Weibo account, however, can confirm that the account has been banned. So they can't confirm if the post story is legit, but they can confirm China's not happy with Diablo Immortal as of current. So, there's the run-of-the-mill, or there's the whole... Yeah, let's go with run-of-the-mill, shall we say, of Diablo Immortal, and why they ended up probably getting banned from the biggest market around. A little bit of a side note for you. To get into the not Diablo market, to get into the Chinese market, right, there are many regulations one has to follow to get into the Chinese market, as is kind of alluded to by this article. Which is why, to get into the Chinese market, most game companies will have their game outsourced to a Chinese-based developer. NetEase is one of the big ones, i.e., or potentially Tencent. These game companies will then basically remake the game, port it over, but they'll also filter out any
Content.
undesirable content. Yeah, undesirable content. So, that's why you also sometimes see a lot of big games from China come from big Chinese companies. Again, Genshin Impact was originally made for China, but because it's not so egregious, it broke out worldwide in terms of what it's doing. One of the funny things, well, not funny things, but one of the side things, actually, that I am aware of is that you cannot actually have a human character die in a video game in China. It can be a non-human character, but it cannot be a human character. Which is a funny story when you look at things like Dota 2, or not Dota 2, PUBG. That got ported to China. I believe they also got ported by NetEase. But regardless, what happens is when you kill a character there, instead of them, falling over dead like you would in PUBG regularly,
Yep.
they would just kind of wave and fade out of existence.
Yes.
Which...
And for another example, for Halo, for example, Halo, when it was ported over to China, it was set up so that blood splatter was at 0, so blood would not be splattered by both players, allies, and enemies, and all bodies would all shrink. They wouldn't really disappear, but they would shrink, which was a funny... Yeah, it's funny to think about, but yes, they would actually shrink. People actually were able to go and, with some of them, be able to just very, very faintly see them if they had a sniper rifle and aimed in the right spot. Funny enough, side note, for Halo 4, the Mantis, the little walking mech, turns out the game actually treats it as a body, as an actual living entity, so when it's destroyed, it gets shrunken as well. So... there's an interesting little tidbit for you there. But, yeah, that's kind of the example of what games would go through when it comes to bloodshed and
death and violence, and
basically.
Stuff like that when it comes to things like human characters. Again, they don't mind non-human characters, but not human characters. It's strange, but I guess you can kind of see it if you debate philosophy, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
There are many other, obviously, things they have to go through filtration process. It's actually quite a strict list from what I've been told, but it's such a long and strict list, I cannot recite it all to you. That's just one of the more famous examples, shall we say. So, there we are. Diablo Immortal promptly got released, promptly got criticized to Hades and back, promptly got declared pay to win, and rightfully so, and then in the weeks following, probably got kicked from China, which means a good chunk of its potential revenue just went down the toilet. Unless they can get this sorted out, which I believe they will most likely push mountains and bend rivers to do so, because, like I said, that is a massive mobile market. So, now that you're all caught up on the whole to-do of Diablo Immortal, what's your take on all this, Justin?
I don't think Blizzard's getting out of there. Or back in there.
Maybe not.
No, knowing the track history of it, yeah, I don't think so. But, yeah, no. It's interesting to think about because this is basically the best kind of example of why people should really not just take an extra second when it comes to gacha games, Because like some gacha games are very good. Some are well designed. Some are fair.
Yeah, some are pretty fair when it comes to what they give you. Again, I like Genshin Impact for it's not the most egregious system, but
Yeah.
then you have games like this which are way more
And
egregious.
it makes me kind of concerned for people because it's like, okay, yeah, no, you can go and pay and get your thing and all that and cool. But you realize how much money you're actually spending. Like the amount of money you're spending could actually honestly get you a lot. And it's like you could get like multiple actual full-scale games for that money. And I can understand, like, no matter what, like, I can understand for some Genshin games going and paying money to go and get, like, a little help and a little boost here and there. But it's just a case in point in, like, at what point do you spend so much money that you maybe shouldn't and should at least see, like, yeah, I'm spending, like, 28 games worth of money.
Yeah, no. I mean, I use Genshin Impact for the sake of comparison in this article, but that's just because, I play.
No, there's a number of Genshin Genshin type of games, gacha games.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of gacha games on the market. And
yeah.
There's the whole term of like here's the thing: these games are made for people that are known as whales in the marketing industry.
Yes.
For those who don't know, whales are basically the big spenders, and there's this whole list. In fact, here, let me look up this list for you real quickly. What would it be? There's even a new term called mega whales, but we'll get into that. Well, yeah, no, there are terms like whales, right? And it goes from things like guppies, which are basically non-spenders, and there's this whole C acronym that they use. It's both ridiculous and stupid. But anyways, whales are what people are fishing for. And now there's this new shtick on the market of mega whales. Well, mega whales are basically, as the name implies, they're even more than big spenders. They're the people who, well, whales already I would consider properly gambling addiction, and there's a whole topic we can go into about gambling addictions here, but and the predatory practices that they kind of prey on with these games. And mega whales are people who go a step beyond that. And they will spend millions in these games. I am not even kidding you. These are the people who these practices and these, incredible predatory natures of these games. That's what these games are designed to look for. These are, the whole point of it.
And I'll be honest. A type of monetary game, to me, that's a mobile game that's actually very fair with its practice on like its monetary practice, but it's also a secondary quote unquote monetary practice that it has, it is actually Fallout Shelter, if I'm being honest. Because Fallout Shelter has a system where you can go full proper free to play. You can go and not pay for any little thing with actual money, and you can just play the game. And there's systems in place that allow you to, okay, you can watch a quick advertisement with your own choice, and you can get like a little boost to help you out. You can get like something to boost one of the rooms, or you can get a chance at maybe getting a box item, or maybe some boosts. Like, you can choose to go full free to play and freely watch advertisements of your own choice, or you can just not do any of that at all. And then if you really wanted to, you can go the monetary route and get a boost even faster and pay for like some very specific items, like an item that goes and patrols the floors and also does stuff freely for you, or box items. Like, you can pay for that if you want to. But you're not forced to, and you can very much go and you can very much go through the game. It's a lot more grindy, and it takes a lot longer to go and get to the end game. But you very much can. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a very fair game. Like, it's like you can take a few months to go and complete the game on your own without doing anything, or you can go down the route and pay like a few extra bucks and shave yourself maybe 3-4 months. Like, it's very fair in that. and the
Yeah.
game still makes the company still makes Bethesda a fair amount of money, and it's it's a case in point that it doesn't have to be games don't have to be what Diablo has been here, which is just a money grab and take as much money as it can out of you, just so
And that's
that
the
you
sad
can
thing
get
too.
just so that you can get progress in the game. Like in Fallout Shelter, your goal is to make a vault, go and make powerful dwellers and get them very nice fancy armor and weapons. You can go and get box items to go and get a chance to unlock these things, or you can eventually over time craft them by going and having your guys explore the outside world and get a chance at picking up one of these blueprints to make them yourself. Like it's there. Like you can take the option to grind a very long period of time in order to get it, or you can get a chance at getting it, but the option should always be there when it comes to games. Like the option should be there that a player to be able to go and decide, okay, you know what, I want to actually grind for this rather than have a chance at it. So
That's the thing, right? I mean,
and,
that's the thing, right? Oh wait, you're gonna,
yeah, no, I mean, there's not really much more I can really say. It's just it's sad to me a little bit that that's kind of the state the mobile market is in. Like that's the kind of state that people who play mobile games are in, which is
Remember
just
Angry Birds?
yeah,
We were having this conversation for
yeah,
yesterday.
like there's
Remember
Angry Birds.
I
like
remember those days.
yeah.
Cookie
And, that,
Clicker was the biggest thing on the
and
mobile
let's be
market.
honest here, the other side of it too, because I've actually recently gone on like a mobile game craze kind of thing where I'd go and download a whole bunch of mobile games, go and look at them, see what they're like. A lot of mobile games now are not good. Like they're all just copy pastes of one another with some slight changes here and there, or some slight texture changes. But other than that, they're literally the same thing every second.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just kind of sucks that that's the direction the mobile game market has gone in, because of the player base kind of just sitting back and letting them do whatever.
That's the thing, right? And there's a very old line that goes all the way back to the days of Dead Space 2 or Dead Space 3. I can't remember which. You're probably wondering why I'm bringing that up, but for those who don't know, Dead Space used to be a very good series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Used to be a very well respected series in the horror game franchise and the horror game genre. But after 2 and 3 came out, they got even more predatory in terms of practices. Now, yes, EA developed it, but that's a side note. And when they asked, like, what the heck is going on, in a way, in an almost prophetic moment, in an almost, shall we say, mask off moment, I can't remember who said the line, but you look it up. It does exist. One of the creators, or one of the developers, basically said that they were basically trying to imitate what they were doing in the mobile games market, and that the mobile games market has kind of been unofficially for a long time now, and anyone who kind of knows the game industry kind of will admit this, but the mobile game market has basically become the testing bed for monetization schemes to use in the mainstream games.
Yeah.
Your FIFAs, your Madden, stuff like that. This is where all of that monetization garbage gets tested and perfected. This is the testing pot these days.
Let's say it for what it is, though. There's a huge difference between PC and mobile players. And mobile players, for the most part, don't really care because of the fact that they're just playing a quick mobile game to go and take a few seconds. To them, it's all right to go and spend that money. That way they can go and get to the actual fun part that they want sooner. While a computer player is literally someone who's sitting down and is like, I am perfectly fine with spending hours and hours on end just to do what I would like to do, because that's literally what I'm sitting here to do, is just take as much time as I want to play the game because I want to actually play the game.
Well, that's a whole debate you can get into, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's people who, purposely don't have the time because,
yes,
they're married, they got kids, they can't sit down for hours on end and play games like we can, sadly.
Yes.
But there's also people who, again, going back to what I said prior, you've got people who've got, things like gambling addictions.
Yes.
And let's be honest, that is a thing, and people will admit to that. These games are, somewhat by their own admission, designed to prey upon those people.
Yep.
It's nice to sit here and assume that everyone wants to sit there and not do, time savers or not give into that kind of thing. But in some cases, they either have no choice because of circumstance or because of simple habit. And that is the sad fact of what these games are well aware of. They know that, and they prey on that very openly.
Yeah.
And Diablo Immortal is just one of the most recent testaments to that very fact.
Yep.
So, like I said, it's a far cry from back when, I want to say when we were kids, when freaking Angry Birds and Cookie Clicker were the biggest things around. Ugh. I hated those games back in the day. Well, maybe not Angry Birds. I actually like Angry Birds.
Angry Birds was like a testament of actual games, which was literally it didn't really have much of anything to monetize. Like, sure, you could pay for maybe that one guy who could the eagle, but let's be honest here, for the most part you'd probably just spend hours and hours on end being like, okay, how can I tactically do this? How can I throw my birds at this wall in such a way to go and smash it open so I can beat that little pig's head in?
Violently look at pigs.
It's like, I am the wolf now. Big bad wolf confirm.
I will never look at pork the same way again. But, you know what, I might as well just go play Angry Birds after this, or I don't know, Genshin, or I don't know, maybe Fallout Shelter or something, I don't know. Something better than this game. But
yes.
That's the thing, right? It shows you where the mobile market has gone, and there's a whole piece you can do on this, but suffice to say, the mobile market has changed very drastically over the last 20 years, from kind of an upstart, not really respected thing in the games industry, and to some degree still not somewhat respected, to being what corporations have basically used as a testbed for monetization practices that we see crop up in mainstream games. And in some way, they even admit to that. Like I said, look up that line from the development of whether Dead Space 2 or 3, where they admit that they were basically using the same practices that were emerging in the mobile game market because of how effective they were. That was a mask-off moment, and that really did kind of solidify the idea that companies do pay attention to what makes money and
what doesn't.
What doesn't,
Yeah.
I can already hear.
Also, by this point, I didn't want to think it was true, but it's true. By this point, I think I bugged my game because nothing's spawning at settlements and buildings.
Ah, yes. Did you bug Genshi again?
Maybe.
This is the second time
I may have went and enabled too many mods. It's just might be what happens when I go and combine Fallout mods with Halo mods with world-changing mods.
And that's why I don't.
I have the options.
Too many options.
You give me too much unlimited power.
And this is why I rarely, if ever, use mods, because stuff like this happens.
Well, I'll just say it for what it is. If you're gonna use mods for a game like this, leave it very, very limited. Like, if you're gonna do world changer, one world changing mod. If you're gonna do one adding a faction mod, only one. If you're gonna change weapons or armor, only one.
Limit yourself. Learned something else from this piece too.
Limit yourself. I mean, that kind of goes for any game. It's even the same for Fallout 4. And how Fallout 4 has
Fallout games.
Yeah, but no, Fallout 4 has an in-game engine where you can go and download mods.
Yeah, they
and at times it can glitch out even if you're downloading a whole bunch of mods from there too. It's just a good rule of thumb. Just limit yourself with your mods.
Exactly. There's a mod in Fallout 4 right now that I've been looking at. It's you can make the lighting much better and much more modern. It's do I want that? Because number one, it'll take away from the original experience. Number two, I don't want it screwing with the game.
Yes. And trust me, I'll be honest with you. Don't change the lighting. Just don't. Because I found out it turns out that when it comes to lighting in Fallout 4, it's the shader, the shadows and that are left behind that create actually the most amount of lag for you. So if you do something with the lighting, you can end up doing something with the shadows, and you can end up botching your machine.
Well, I was gonna do it on my new next-gen console, so I don't know if I want to now.
Yeah, either way, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, good to know.
That
Learn
goes
all
for
kinds of things in
everyone.
this
Don't mess with the lighting in Fallout. Just don't. Because apparently they programmed it where shadows will botch your game.
Yikes.
So good luck.
What time are we at for streaming?
We are 45.
45. I think this is a good part to end it.
Yep. No, we've made our point. Like, when it comes to Diablo Immortal right now is very obviously kind of stingy in a way with its money, and an obvious case of if you want to go and do stuff, you gotta give me more money. Yeah. And it works. The company's getting their money. Yeah. But this is, it's like this is a case scenario in the actual market. The people who are playing the game who are really need to.
I don't blame the players as much.
Like that's the thing. I don't really blame the players, but like the way I say it seems as if I do blame the players. But I blame the players in the sense of, like, there needs to be you gotta work on yourself a little. Like, to me, it feels like you're playing this game, and if you know you have a potential for addiction, you gotta limit yourself. Like, a little bit of self-control with it, because it's dangerous.
Think about addiction, man.
Yes. It's not. No, it's not. It's not. But the first step forward to getting yourself out of an addiction is to at least recognize that, yes, you do have this addiction. And if you can recognize that, especially for a gambling addiction, if you can recognize that, then you yourself have to take this first step to, okay, I have recognized that I have this addiction. I have this thing that I keep feeling that I must do. You then have to take your foot down and say, I cannot play this, or I cannot do this, because if I do this, I'm going to go down a bad route, and I'm already doing that with these things. You gotta pick and choose.
That's the thing, right? You're destroying the franchise of Diablo, and yeah, you're making a ton of money here, but you're destroying any kind of semblance of a good product in the process.
That too. You're basically going down the name of, I just want your money every chance I get. I don't care what happens to you.
Which, I mean, it's Activision Blizzard. Everyone kind of already knew that, but, still. Anyways, depressing aside, there's Diablo Immortal. Stay well away from this game, and if you have it, like I said, the consensus is that it's fun, the storyline itself is free, the characters themselves are fun to play, but the gem system is the heart of the problem, and, well, gems and gems and gems and gems, Yikes.
Yep.
Plus, apparently there's an XP wall once you get to around the level 30, so, be wary of that. But anyways.
So much fun.
So much fun to be had. So much money to be lost. And again, like I said, players are just giving a lot of money to the game in a way just to prove that it's bad. Like,
yes, I know. I for one know that there are people who do that, and
I mean,
I don't really. I'll be honest. I don't see why they need to do this. It's like, yes, you're trying to prove that it's doing this. You can do that by just showing me that there's the option. It's like,
I mean, again, like, once one or two people do it, that's enough. You don't all need to keep doing it.
Yeah, because the more people, like, that's the thing. Like, I'll be willing to bet more people are gonna keep doing it just to show that, yes, it's doing this. Like, but you're not, at this point, you're not proving that anymore. You're proving that, yes, it works for them, and they're gonna keep doing it because you're giving them your money.
Yeah, like, that's the thing, right?
There's two types of people right now who are giving them money. There are those who just that's what they're doing, and that's their choice. And then there are those who are basically trying to do the no, these guys are bad. I'll prove it. See?
We already know.
Like, you don't need to do that. You don't. Yeah. But thank you for trying. Your heart's in the right place, but your money is
Maybe
not.
Not your wallet.
Yeah, your money is not.
Anyways, there you go. That's Diablo Immortal. Again, steer well away from this game, and that's a wrap, right?
Yep.
From all of us here at the Midrick Report, I'm Nick. Over and always playing gameplay is Justin, and as always, good night.
Say goodbye to OXC 01001100 as he fights a bunch of dust bandits trying to go and take raw food from his body. Because, you know, they really do be needing that raw meat.